Hello and welcome hardworking aspirants. Today we are going to study about the Seleucid invasion of India. It's a very interesting but less known chapter in the Indian history and also the world history. We will see the time phase, what happens after Alexander the Great is no more, and what about his successors. And there is a very beautiful inspiring story of an ordinary army personnel who will rise to the place of emperor of Seleucid empire. So we'll see all that. We'll also see guys, the tussle between Chandragupta Maurya and Seleucus the first Nicator, or Seleucus Nicator the first. And we will also see the map where we can evidently see, if you can see the northwestern part of India, there you see no more it is any foreign power which is there, rather that is a part of Mauryan empire. So we'll see all these guys, but before that, a quick info: if you're preparing for TSPSC Group 1 or for Group 2 or even for UPSC CSC examinations, this is the opportunity for you guys. Right now we are giving 50% straightforward discount on our live batches. You can call on the numbers given below to inquire for more, and don't delay. If you have decided, let's get started for that. That is very important. Anyways, so let's get started with our class here. So as I said you, after the death of Alexander the Great, there will be wars followed by his death, and the wars will be known as the War of Diadochi. Okay, what is this Diadochi? Basically, this Diadochi comes from the word Diadochus, and the Diadochus means successors. Okay, so now I think it is clear to you. So it is the war between the successors of Alexander the Great, that who is going to take over that huge Macedonian empire, and in that there will be few generals of Alexander the Great, and one of that generals will be Seleucus Nicator. Okay, so we are going to read about Seleucus Nicator, and the empire that he will find will be known as the Seleucid empire. Okay, so he will not be fighting only one battle, rather he will have two battles to see. One in the eastern side with the great Mauryan or the Magadhan empire of that time, and secondly he will have to fight the battles with the generals of Alexander the Great. One very famous Antigonus. Okay, he was also known as Antigonus the one-eyed, because he was only having one eye. So we will also see that that is going to happen. But nonetheless, following the death of Alexander the Great in 323 before Common Era, his vast empire will fragment into his generals. That's the Diadochi. Seleucus the first Nicator. What is this Nicator? Nicator is not his name from the very beginning, rather it is a title which means victor. So Seleucus had this title. The title Nicator means victor. He was one of the generals. He had a very inspiring story because he was a common army personnel in the army of Macedonian Empire. From there, he rose to the post of general and became one of the very favorites of Alexander the Great. And we see when Alexander the Great is returning back to Babylonia, at that time Alexander makes Seleucus the first Nicator as one of the general of the provinces in northwest India. So that itself shows that this man must have done some very good and hard efforts and struggled his way up. And then after that he will also find the way above Antigonus, and he is going to find the Seleucid empire. So after he is not there, we'll see this part of Iran, Afghanistan, northwest Indian subcontinent. It will be again be there to be taken over. Now at that very time, what is happening in India? If you remember, when Alexander the Great attacked, it was Nandas, and in Nandas also it was Dhananand who was ruling over India. But after there we see the change that Alexander the Great is no more, he has died. We see a change in India also, and the change is the Nandas are overthrown by the Mauryas, and the first Maurya ruler or the founder of the Mauryan Empire is Chandragupta Maurya. And Chandragupta Maurya is also held by Chanakya, the Kautilya or the Vishnugupta, the one who is said to have written the Arthashastra. Okay, so now there will be this tussle for this northwestern part of India. Why there will be this tussle for the northwestern part of India? Because at first we have seen from time and again, right away from the Persian invasion, and after the Persian invasion we saw Alexander's invasion, that this northwestern part of India is always invaded by the foreigners. So the Mauryan Empire or the Chandragupta Maurya will also have it in mind that we somehow have to take control over that part. But it was already previously the part of the foreigners. So foreigners again will try to have the control over there. So now we will have this tussle of both the Mauryan Empire and the Macedonian control over that part of the northwestern India, and let's see who is going to take over. So what will be the causes of this invasion? Both Seleucus and Chandragupta sought control over the rich and strategic region of the Indus Valley, Gandhara, Arachosia, and these areas that had been part of Alexander's conquest. Now understand one thing I said you, that it is very important strategically, from strategic point, it is very important to take control of this area, that is the Gandhara, Kamboja, Arachosia and all. But from the revenue point of view also, if you remember, I told you that while the Persian invasion or while the Achaemenid Empire combining whole of Asia, the 1/3 alone the revenue was being given by this one satrapy of northwestern India. So it is also very important from the basis of revenue and also from the basis of strategy. Now Seleucus aimed to reclaim and secure the easternmost satrapy of the former Macedonian Empire, while Chandragupta was determined to unify northern India because he wanted to make sure that he takes control over that northwestern part of India, which time and again has been invaded by the foreigners. Now the military campaign, let's see how it happens. So Seleucus will have around 305 BC cross the Indus River with his army seeking to assert control over the northwestern Indian territories. Mauryas right now will be confronted with the Seleucus forces. The Mauryan army renowned for its use of war elephants. Now this war elephant is something very significant which you should remember when we are talking about this Seleucid invasion. Why? We are going to see in the next slide, so please wait a bit, but this is important. Posed a formidable challenge to the Seleucid troops who were more accustomed to what? The traditional Hellenistic warfare. What is Hellenistic warfare? The warfare which is related to the Greeks and their history and their culture. So we see here the pics of Seleucus the first, Nicator, Chandragupta Maurya, and the elephants, which were equally important. While detailed battle accounts are scarce, most sources agree that the conflict was intense but ultimately indecisive in favor of Seleucus. The Mauryan military strength, especially their elephants, played a crucial role in resisting the invasion. So what it is saying? It is just saying that whatever we know about this war, we have to understand two things. First, Seleucus Nicator the first is fighting on two fronts. One is in the eastern front, that is with India. Second, in the western front, that is in Babylon. Okay, why? Because their other Diadoches are there and they want to take over. And there also, especially we have already said, is Antigonus I or Antigonus One-Eyed, who has taken over the empire at that time. Now Seleucus will some way or the other find that it is going to be easy if he makes an alliance with Chandragupta Maurya. Okay, and obviously there was fierce resistance also. The Magadhan army or the Mauryan army was quite huge in number, whether it was the elephants in the warfare, the horses in the warfare, or even the troops on foot. those were quite outnumbering the Seleucus Nicator's army. So it was thought by Seleucus Nicator first to be a wise decision to make the alliance with Chandragupta Maurya, and for that what he will do, he will offer a matrimonial alliance and offer his daughter Helena to be married to Chandragupta Maurya. That is one thing, and along with that he will also give the territories east of the Hindu Kush, including Gandhara, Arakosia, and the Cambodia and Balochistan, to Chandragupta Maurya. So this is the two things that he is giving, and what he will take in return, that is also very interesting. And if you remember, I said you about elephants. It is said that he asked 500 elephants in return of this alliance. Now, very shocking. Why 500 elephants? You are giving 3 or 4 very big territories which are strategically very important, which are going to give a lot of revenue also. You are even marrying your daughter and you are just asking for 500 elephants. Well, in return, Chandragupta gifted Seleucus 500 war elephants, which later played a decisive role in Seleucus' western campaign, notably at the Battle of Ipsus 301 BC. Now please note it down. So he will use those 500 elephants when, if you remember, at the time of Alexander also, the Alexander's army was very fearful of the fact that Magadhan are having horses, and along with horses they are also having elephants, and these have never used elephants in the warfare, never faced, so they were very feared of them. Now you will see the same elephants are taken by Seleucus Nicator as a gift from Chandragupta, and he will use those elephants in the Battle of Ipsus 301 BC, and this battle was against Antigonus the one-eyed, and that will start the very famous Seleucid Empire under Seleucus Nicator, and that was the strategy. So what he achieved, actually what Seleucus Nicator achieved in the eastern side or the northwestern side of India, he has now made an alliance. So now he is sure that there is nothing wrong going to be happening there. That's one thing. And secondly, on the western side, now he has taken over the Babylon, okay, or the Seleucid Empire has now started. So this was the marriage alliance that we have already talked about. Helena, the daughter of Seleucus Nicator, will be married to Chandragupta Maurya. Now let's see some of the diplomatic relations also that took place. So Seleucus sent the Greek ambassador Megasthenes to Chandragupta's court at Patliputra, initiating a period of diplomatic and cultural exchange. And also the very famous book written by Megasthenes, Indica, which now it's completely lost, but its references come again and again in other Greek historians' books, and we come to know a lot about the Mauryan Empire's revenue system, the society at that time, the religious and the cultural segments that all were there. So the impact and the consequences that happened at that time. So we see the Mauryan expansion to the northwestern part of India. It is for the very first time any empire is covering that northwestern part of India, and Seleucid will obviously shift its focus towards the Mediterranean, the western Mediterranean, where the elephants proved invaluable in his military campaign. Next, if you see the administration and governance, integration of new territories will be there. The Mauryan administration incorporated the newly acquired region, extending its centralized governance, tax system and legal codes. The satrapy system, this is one thing which we have time and again said you, that the Mauryans continue and adapted the satrapy, that is the provincial system which was inherited from the Persian and the Greeks, ensuring efficient control over the vast empire. It is nothing just the system right now we have, that states are governed by the chief ministers, because the prime minister cannot see that every state is governed nicely or not, so that he appoints governors and the chief ministers there. Now let's see the economic and trade relation that happened at that time. So the trade expansion, the peace treaty facilitated the normalization and regulation of trade between the Mauryan and Seleucid Empire. The Khyber Pass and other routes became vital arteries of the Indo-Greek commerce. Export and imports, if you see, India exported silk, textile, spices and precious stones, with importing horses, wine and luxury goods from the Hellenistic world. And unified currency. Chandragupta established a single currency across India, further boosting trade and economic integration. This is the coin that you can see. Let's see the cultural and intellectual exchanges that happened. So we already discussed the Greek ambassadors like Megasthenes at the Mauryan court led to the exchange of ideas in administration, science and philosophy. And we also see the Hellenistic influence began to appear in Indian art and architecture, especially in the northwest, laying the groundwork for later Greco-Buddhist synthesis. If you see this, you see the very specific thing that has come now to Indian art or sculpture is this halo at the back. You're seeing in almost all of these, you're seeing the halo. Then second thing to notice is the hairstyle. If you see the hairstyle, the third thing if you want to notice is the dress. This drapery system in the dress is something very unique. And the fourth thing if you want to notice is this build of the body, this good physique, the masculine body, the Greek god-like structures that are being shown with the Buddhas, Buddha statues that you can see, is something new features which have come in this Gandhara art or the Indo-Greek art together. Now the religious and social exchanges will also take place. The treaty fostered environment of religious tolerance and cross-cultural interaction with Greek and Indian traditions will influence each other, and the foundation for Indo-Greek relations will also start. The Seleucid-Mauryan treaty as a precedent for future diplomatic and cultural relation between India and Hellenistic world. The peace and stability following the treaty allowed both empires to flourish, with the Mauryan empire reaching its zenith under Chandragupta and his successor. We also can take a cue from here. And what is that cue? That in today's world, when we are seeing that the countries are fighting with each other and we are on the verge of the third world war, this gives us a message that if the leaders or the presidents or the prime ministers of the countries, if they are determined that we can make healthy alliances where we can have this trade of cultures, we can have this trade of the other educational things and the different cultural perspective, we can really grow together, and we can really invest together in education, the scientific approach, and for today's world, if whether it is AI or anything. So this gives us a message that, you know, two empires from different cultures, from different worlds, you can say, one coming from the very far away Babylonian or the Macedonian empire, the other the Indian empire, there can be this good relations if efforts are made. Now historical significance, we have already seen the importance of this alliance, and a summary if we have to do, the Seleucid invasion was pivotal event that reshaped the political, economic and cultural landscape of ancient India and the Hellenistic world through a combination of military strength, diplomatic negotiation and cultural openness. And not to forget, after Seleucus Nicator will win the war, he will establish a new city, Seleucia. Obviously it's based on his name, and this Seleucia was the new capital just beside Babylon. And there is one thing more about Seleucus Nicator that you should know. He, in his heart, was an architect. He loved building cities. Okay, so that is why you will see he will build many cities, and the cities also like the metropolitan cities of today, which are well planned and which has all the efficient things required. So this was you can say one of the unique feature of Seleucus Nicator, the first that he established these cities, especially Seleucia, which was the new capital beside Babylon. Let's see a few of the questions. Which of the following territories were ceded by Seleucus the first Nicator to Chandragupta Maurya as part of the peace treaty? Gandhara, Arachosia, Gadrosia. All of these should be the correct answer. Well, the correct answer is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yes. Let's see the next question. Chandragupta Maurya gifted 500 war elephants to Seleucus Nicator. Yes. The war elephants helped Seleucus win the battle of Ipsus in 301 BC against Antigonus the one-eyed. So what is right? Both assassin region is right, and it is the correct explanation also. Let's see question number 3. Consider the following statements about Seleucid-Mauryan treaty. It resulted in dynastic marriage alliance between the two royal families. Yes, it did. Helena was the daughter of Seleucus Nicator the first. It led to the appointment of Megasthenes as the Greek ambassador. Yes, it is also true. It gave Seleucus control over the eastern part of the Mauryan Empire. Eastern part of the Mauryan Empire. Why Seleucus will have the control? No, this should be wrong. So 1 and 2 is the correct answer. Yes, 1 and 2 is the correct answer. Let's see the next. Gandhara, Arakosia and Kabul, Balochistan. What is the correct answer here? So you see Gadrosia obviously will be Balochistan. Gandhara obviously will be eastern Afghanistan, and then you have Arakosia and you have southern Afghanistan and Kabul region. Let's see what is the correct answer. Yes, Arakosia is southern Afghanistan, Kabul region, and then Gadrosia is Balochistan, Gandhara is northwest Pakistan or eastern Afghanistan. Let's see the last question. Why is the treaty between Chandragupta Maurya and Seleucus first Nicator considered a landmark in ancient world diplomacy? It was the first treaty between a European and Indian power. No, it involved not just a territorial settlement but also diplomatic, military and cultural exchange. This looks to be very good. It led to the end of Mauryan Empire. It resulted in spread of Christianity in India. No. B should be the correct answer here, and B is the correct answer. And if you also want to take a correct decision in your life, this is for you guys. For UPSC, TSPSC, APPSC or for any state civil service exam, if you are preparing, this is the opportunity for you to get one-on-one live mentorship by Deepika ma'am, the very experienced faculty having 20 plus years of experience. So already trained more than 1,000 students, out of which hundreds of them are in services today. So you can call on the numbers given below to inquire for more, and we'll meet the next time if you subscribe. So please subscribe and comment if you liked. Thank you so much.